So now we will talk about my biggest mistakes. I have a lot of mistakes that I made over this journey, but we will talk about some of them that are more related to this first season of kind of like the foundation in general of entrepreneurship. For example, I think I mentioned in one of the videos about hiring an HR person. That was a huge mistake. That is something that I will never make again. We hired the wrong person. We started losing people that they were with the company for 5 years, and we only have 5 years at that moment. So losing them was really hard. And then when we fired this person, everybody come back. So that tells you the power of culture. Don't forget about that. Hire the right people, and having the right people in the right position is critical. So don't make that mistake. Now, talking about other mistakes, for example, how you pitch projects, because at the end, the art of pitching, whatever you do for a B2C, B2B, if you're going to raise money, pitching is pitching, and understand that people that is listening to that, they don't want to listen somebody talking for half an hour, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. First of all, they will lose the attention. Remember, the time span of somebody understanding or listening to somebody is going to be less than a minute. If you do not connect with them, you're dead. And here are a couple of things that I learned, or my mistakes. I didn't know why, how, and what. So I was making too much of the what, not so much of the why. So people didn't connect and I was losing clients. That's one thing. The second is like, what are you presenting? And in my case, that's my opinion. Again, disclaimer, that's what I think. The shorter the pitch, the better it is. That way you leave room for questions. People want to listen kind of like, what value are you providing to them? What solution are you providing to their problem? That's why kind of like pitching projects is a whole art in a way. We can talk about that in the next season. But people ask me like, how long should be or how many slides? It depends on what you're proposing. In my case, again, my perspective, I do not make more than 10 slides. Sometimes I do 5. And when I'm pitching, if it's a customer and a B2B, 15 minutes, and then I have 45 minutes to discuss whatever they want. Even if it's B2C, it doesn't matter because you might have a retailer or a partner who needs to understand what you do. So the pitching needs to be short. If you're raising money, the same thing. They want to understand how good your team it is, how you complement each other. So you will make sure that you're aiming for that problem will make sense. Do not overtalk and do not try to use the whole hour if you have 1 hour to talk to the customer in whatever the case it is. Now we will talk about fear and perfection. That was another issue that I made at the beginning. I made some products before I built Tecton, which was my first successful company, but I was doing products. My fear at the beginning was like, I'm not good for sales. And then I partnered with somebody who was doing the sales, but they didn't know nothing about the software. So I was building a product that was an ERP for schools. Long story short, what ended up happening is that because I wanted to make it so perfect, meaning that I want to complete all the modules and everything, it took me too long. And I was validating with the schools and everything. So we were doing a good process, but we never launched anything to the market. What ended up happening, a Chilean company arrived to Peru with one module, and they got all the schools in Lima. So basically, I have a Rolls Royce that nobody wants to use because what they need was a Toyota. As simple as that. That's why I mentioned, don't be afraid of comments or like complaints from people that are using your product. Just because if they are bitching about your product, that means that they're using it. So that's good. I'm not saying that you should keep doing that, but that's a good sign. The worst thing that you can get is like, I love your product, and that's it, which means that they are not using it in most of the cases. And the other thing that I made a mistake, and I don't want you to do the same thing, is like launch whatever you have. Don't wait too long, because when you're doing that, the risk goes up again, and you don't want to do that. You want to reduce risk. What's the best way to reduce risk? Put it into the market. So don't forget about that. Another mistake that I made was kind of like take it too long to make the decision to have a C-suite on my company. Why? Because you cannot give or you cannot tell the new CEO what pieces do they need. It's kind of like if you're hiring a CEO, or let me rephrase, if you hire smart people, you don't tell them what they need to do. They will tell you what they need to do. The same happens with the CEO. Just because if you have a CEO, they will just do whatever they want because they want to build their own team. They don't want you, in most of the cases, use whatever you gave them as founder. So that took me a lot of time to digest because I was trying to build, first, let's hire the CTO, and then the other one, and then the other one, and then the CEO. No, usually it's the other way around. Why? Because the CEO will want to build their own team that they trust and they know how to scale. On top of that, I never been in a company that is bigger than mine. So how the hell will I know? That's why you're asking help from mentors and other people so you can build your C-suite. So don't forget about that. Financing. I know that I mentioned in several videos that that's really critical. I made so many mistakes on that. And yes, I made mistakes, but I did learn a couple of one or two tricks, especially in different markets, like for example, LATAM and the US. In LATAM, of course, we didn't follow any kind of like accounting standard procedure. We didn't have financials. It took us a lot of time to fix that, and we were able to access to credit. In the US, it's a little bit different because besides banks, you have so many options to get credit or access to funds that they go in a different angle. So we have Bluevine and Cabbage, like other providers. They want to know about your cash flow, not so much about your financial statements, just because you can not make them up, but you can touch them up a little bit. I learned from that, and I was able to access funds because we have most of our customers in the US, so all the funds were deposited there. So we have a good cash flow, and based on that, they will allow us to give us credit. So be creative in order to get financing or funds from the different markets where you operate. We will talk about choosing the wrong clients. Choosing the wrong partners are really important. Why? Because when you're starting, you might be tempted to accept any kind of customers, any kind of clients, regardless if they're like the ICP or not. That I get it. You need the revenue. But sometimes when you accept those clients, they not only give you revenue, they give you headaches, they give you attrition, they give you stress, they take your focus away. So you don't want that. That happened to me. Even this could be a small company, could be a huge corporation. In my case, I had a huge corporation where, yeah, of course, everybody wants to work with them, but the way that they treat their people and the way that they want to treat us was so bad that we realized, like, why are we working with them? Just because of the revenue? Just because we want the logo? Do we really want to work with them? They don't have the same values and foundation as we do. Long story short, we end up working with them. Again, one of the biggest mistakes. We lose people that they were like with us for 6 years because they cannot stand the customer. And at the end, we finished the project. We didn't want to work with them anymore. We lose our focus and we lose people that we care. Sadly, even the thing that we built for that customer, they never use it because they were not sure. So just picture that. Be very careful who you work with.